Way back in September of 2002, almost 10 years ago now, Nintendo brought a very strange and unique Game Boy Advance add-on to North America. This add-on is called the Nintendo e-reader. Yes, folks, years before Amazon began selling the Kindle or Barnes & Noble brought out the Nook, the term e-reader was coined by none other than our very own Nintendo. But it had an entirely different meaning. 3 months after the release, Christmas rolled around, and what awaited me under the Christmas tree was none other than this strange-looking device. I actually remember opening a pack of strange-looking Donkey Kong trading cards before the e-reader got opened itself. My 9-year-old self was confused out of my mind because I had no idea what the cards even were. Then I opened the e-reader and my confusion grew even worse, but once I learned what the device was and how to use it, I thought it was the coolest thing that I had ever heard of. You see, the e-reader is a device used to scan data from dot codes on the sides of trading cards. The data is then implemented into games via the Game Boy Advance. The Donkey Kong trading cards I had received were actually a cleverly disguised video game. A version of the NES classic Donkey Kong ported to the Game Boy Advance far before it appeared as part of the classic NES series. At the time, I was in heaven, because I didn't have a working NES, and it was great to be able to play all these old games again for the price of a pack of trading cards. I later discovered that the e-reader also had some GameCube connectivity, and I love that too, but we'll save that for later in the video. Connecting the e-reader to your Game Boy Advance was as simple as putting in a game. The device is quite huge, however, so it kinda gives your handheld that tumor look, as everyone seems to like to call it. You know, the kind of look that Sega employed back in the day with its add-ons for the Genesis, the Sega CD, and the 32X. When plugging the e-reader into the original model of the Game Boy Advance, the device would cover the link cable slot, so Nintendo built in an extension that would allow you to use the connectivity function. This issue isn't present when using a Game Boy Advance SP, however, because the game slot and link cable ports are on opposite sides of the device. The e-reader is not designed for use with the Game Boy Micro, although it does fit. But imagine how big of a pain in the ass that would be. I'm using the e-reader on the GameCube's Game Boy player to record the footage for this video. When you boot up the e-reader, you're greeted with a title screen and some of the most awesome menu music in video game history. Anyway, after that, you can choose to either scan a dot code, communicate with another game, or boot saved data from the e-reader itself. So now that I've introduced you to the e-reader itself, let's move on and talk about some of the cards. The first set of cards I'm going to talk about were the NES games. There's a total of 13 NES games that were released as card packs, including Donkey Kong, DK Jr., Donkey Kong 3, Mario Brothers, Excite Bike, Balloon Fight, Ice Climber, Clu Clu Land, Pinball, Urban Champion, Baseball, Tennis, and Golf. I own all of them but Urban Champion and Baseball, and they play just as you would expect them to. They're NES games in handheld form. You can save one to the device at any time so you don't need to scan the cards for it, which is convenient because there are 5 cards per set, and a total of 9 codes across all the cards, which can be a pain in the ass to scan every time you want to play a game. I don't play these games much today, but I've always enjoyed the look of the cards because they got such colorful artwork on the back, and it just evokes memories of good old Nintendo games. Next up, I'll talk about the Animal Crossing e-cards. These are an awesome example of GameCube to Game Boy Advance connectivity. For those of you that don't know what Animal Crossing is, it's basically a simple life simulator where you just live in a house and live in a village with a bunch of animals, and you collect furniture, gather clothes, go fishing. It's a really simple and relaxing game. Now there's several of the cards that depict the various villagers from the game on them. You can connect your e-reader to the GameCube via a link cable, then download an application in the village post office to your e-reader, which will allow you to scan villager cards. When you scan a villager card, the villager on the card will send you a free special item to your home via the game's mailbox. Or, if you don't feel like using the e-reader at all, there's passwords on the cards that you can input at Tom Nook's shop to receive the same item. There are also Town Tune cards for Animal Crossing, which contain downloadable note sequences for your town's theme song. Finally, my favorite of the Animal Crossing e-cards are pattern cards. I got several of these back in the day through Nintendo Power. They're used to import patterns into the Able Sisters shop, so you can make clothing and other items with special sprites or patterns on them. My favorite is the NES Link sprite, because it's freaking cool. Another popular set of e-cards back in the day were the ones for Super Mario Advance 4. For those of you that don't know, Mario Advance 4 was a Game Boy Advance remake of the classic NES Super Mario Bros. 3. However, the e-reader connectivity added a ton of extra content to the game, and made it arguably the best version of Super Mario Bros. 3 ever made, which I know is a big statement, but I firmly believe it's true. The most basic cards for Super Mario Advance 4 are the power-up cards, which allow you to give yourself items in the game. They can be anything as simple as a basic super mushroom to a 10-up mushroom, giving you 10 extra lives. My personal favorite of the power-up cards I own is the blue-green switch, hands down, because the blue-green switch adds vegetables to each level of the game. This essentially transforms the game into a hybrid between Super Mario 2 and Super Mario 3, which can only be described as epic. Another type of cards for this game are demo cards, which pretty much show you how to beat a level. And then there's the level cards themselves, which actually add entirely new levels to the game. On the Save File Select screen, there's an option for level cards. Selecting it will bring you over to World E, where you can pick from Mario and Luigi, and then head over to the Level Select, where you can scan in new levels using the e-reader. Here, for example, I scanned in the card for the level Swinging Bars of Doom. What an awesome thing to be playing some of the most obscure Mario levels in history. The e-reader definitely added a ton of content to this game that wouldn't have been available otherwise. Some cards I don't own were produced for Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. They allowed you to battle new trainers, and I don't own any of those. But one card I do remember having for Ruby and Sapphire was the Eon Ticket, which allowed you to catch an extra legendary Pokemon in the game, but sadly I can't find it anywhere. I remember getting it in a Nintendo Power magazine and actually using it a long time ago, and it's just one of those things that gets lost over the years, so sadly I don't have that to show you guys. There's also some very weird e-cards I've gathered over the years that I don't exactly remember where they're from. Most of my weird ones came from Nintendo Power, but I'm not really sure. The first one is this Fox Box promotional card. All it contains is a Kirby slide puzzle. Riveting. I also have these Pokemon Channel cards. I'm not going to show you footage of these because all they really do is give you like a new portrait or something in the game, and Pokemon Channel's not a very amusing game to show footage of, I would think, so yeah, that's all I got to say about those. The final thing I want to mention is Mario Party E, which is arguably the most obscure Mario Party title. I've always loved Mario Party, so I picked this up back when it came out, and the game is actually a card game. As you can see here, it came with a playing board as well as a set of cards. The object of the game is to collect all the Superstar clothes and a Superstar card before beating the game, but I'm not going to go too depth into the gameplay right now, maybe another time. What I do want to talk about, though, are the e-reader minigames. Minigames are obviously a staple of the Mario Party series, and several cards in this game have dot codes on the side of them for use with the e-reader. Scanning these allow you to play minigames just like the real Mario Party games. When these cards pop up in the game, you scan the e-reader card and you play a minigame to determine who's the winner and determine the outcome. They're very simple games. For example, this one's the Waluigi minigame, and you have to pick the numbers in order. But still, it's a unique combination of video games and card games that we don't see often in games today. Well guys, that wraps up a quick look back at the Nintendo e-reader. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and until next time, I'll see you guys later.